record. Here we go. Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I can't believe we're already on episode 112. I was just telling a friend of mine, it was February of 2019 when I signed my first contract with Voice America, and that's where we started. So I had a radio show that was live every week on Voice America, and it was so much fun to be able to go into the studio and have guests come into the studio. And then, of course, we know the pandemic hit, and then I wind up moving. Instead of going live, which was a lot of pressure on me, I decided to start doing podcast style. And so now we've moved to the podcast platform, but we do go live every week on Facebook on Wednesdays. So we're glad that you joined us today. And I have a couple of big announcements that we haven't talked about on our podcast much, but we have some big events coming up that I wanted to mention. I'm in the middle of writing a book called Step into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence and Attract more clients. And I have 12 or 13, I believe, I think it's 13 other authors with me. And we are in production of that. And we have a summit that we're going to be releasing where each author is going to be interviewed to talk about how they help their clients step into the spotlight and expand their influence in their specific industry. And so look out for that summit because we're going to be doing some advertising. So to get notifications from Lead Up for Women, you can join us at leadupforwomen.com, and you can download the magazine, click on the general newsletter, attend one of our free events on Tuesday. There's so many opportunities for you to join the community and then be able to get notified so we can let you know about this summit because we're going to be releasing that in July. And in August, we have a big, huge production of a 3-day event. This will be probably the last virtual live event ever put on Earth because everyone is moving back to in-person. But I've got a stage set up and it's going to be this huge event. I know one of my guests today, Sophia, she's already planning on attending. This is a 3-day practical tactical business conference where we're going to be talking about everything you need to know on operating your business, how to do it, what to do, and putting those practices in place. So I get to finally take my 20 years of experience of being a business coach and launching over 300 and some businesses, bring that to the women of the world as entrepreneurs and share those skills with them. So excited about that. It's called the LEAP event. We will put the link right there so you guys can go ahead and get signed up for that. And early bird are going on until July 15th. After July 15th, the ticket prices go up. So jump in there as quick as you possibly can and get your tickets now for general admission or VIP because our swag boxes are going to be insane. I just ordered the swag boxes today. They're like over $500 in value. So you can't really go wrong with that. And of course, our Lead Up for Women members, they get a special price because they are our VIPs. So again, check us out at leadupforwomen.com. I generally don't talk about events too much on here or promote Lead Up for Women, but today I wanted to mention that because these are some really great opportunities coming up and several women that I want to put in the spotlight with the summit and with the event as well. We have a lot of sponsors. So again, thank you so much for listening to that information. I have some really great ladies today. And as you just heard me speak, I do consulting with female entrepreneurs. I used to work with male entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs, mainly couples, but now I work directly with all female entrepreneurs and I love it. It lights me up every day. And so today we have 2 coaches that are on with us, Sophia McMorris and Lori Ann Campbell. So we have 2 ladies with us today that are going to talk to us about their love of coaching, why they do it, what brought them to wanting to help others. Because, you know, as light leaders, we are all on this path together. And each one of us has a God-given talent that has been given to us. And if you are still alive on this earth, you still have a purpose that you need to fulfill. And that purpose to fulfill is what it is that is that burning desire inside of you that creeps up to the surface most of the time when we're doing what we're not supposed to be doing. And it shuts doors and pulls us to the place where we become purposefully driven entrepreneurs. And the two ladies that are with me today are certainly purposefully driven entrepreneurs. So at first, I'd like to welcome Sophia McMorris to today. And Sophia joined Lead Up for Women not too long ago, and I've been able to get to know her. She's at a lot of our events, and she's just such a bright beam of light, and is there to absorb the information and collaborate with other women. And I love her attitude and her enthusiasm. She's the Executive Wisdom Mentor, a certified professional transformation life coach, the CEO and founder of Wisdom Speaks Life. Her clients hire Sophia to help them create and implement their one-page secret success strategy plan. Don't say that 8 times fast because you won't be able to. For an integrated, harmonious, fulfilling life. Sophia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's so great to have you here. So let's talk about this one-page secret success strategy plan, because we're all looking for a fulfilling life. And let's back it up a little bit. What are you finding the women that come and work with you? What is it that's holding them back from having that fulfilling, harmonious life? It sounds so amazing, yet so many things seem to get in the way of that.
All right. Well, I mean, there are several things that, affect women that holds them back. And it spreads, across the board. But one of the things that I find is that they don't have a plan for their life. We have a marketing plan, we have a business plan, we have a sales plan and other kind of plans, but there's no plan for your life. So I've created this plan so that way you can get right to setting up the goals that you want to achieve for your life and the things that are important and that matters to you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So tell me, who is the ideal person that that you would work with, and how did you identify that through your life? So let's back up a little bit. You didn't come out of the womb, as this amazing certified transformational coach, but yet you realize that we all need to transform our own lives. And I hear you saying that it's pretty common across the board of the disbeliefs that women have and why they're holding themselves back. Where do you think that stems from? Tell me how you got into doing this and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, my story of how I got started was that for years I struggled with my weight. And so it was, this constant, from the time I was a teenager, early teenager, to into my adulthood. And so I was just struggling. At one point, I signed up for the gastric bypass. I waited 6 months and didn't get called for my surgery date. And I was like, what am I doing? I could be doing something else. I tried different diet pills, diet plans, all the possibilities that were out there, I tried. And then one of the things that I figured out is that I was always looking outside of myself for the answers. So I had to change and become aware of my internal world. So one morning I sat down to meditate, and that was where I experienced my breakthrough light bulb moment. I read a quote that said, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou would prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper." And so the word soul spoke to me. And so I had to go on a journey to discover what's my soul. I felt like, the ugly duckling, the swan in the ugly duckling story, just so desperate to master my life, figure things out. I call it going around the mountain. And I needed to create a path that was going to take me up and over the mountain so I could get to the other side. So on this journey of self-discovery, of soul discovery, wrapped in self-mastery, I was able to transform my own life and be able to, lose 100 pounds. So I didn't get the surgery, but I was able to, once I figured out my inner world, once I understood how to rewrite my own story and to put those pieces in place and becoming aware and recognizing I had choices and I could make a decision, and I could do differently than I had been doing. I was able to transform my life.
Yeah, that's so touching. Isn't that so true? And congratulations,
Well,
by
thank
the
you.
way, because I've seen photos of you, full standing photos because we've promoted you on our Thrive Thursdays. And I'm like, girl, you look good.
Well, thank you.
So anyone listening to this might want to come out to the video on our Facebook page, Lead Up for Women, and check out Sophia because again, I love that you say that. And I think we need to anchor that in for our listeners, Sophia. We what are the signs? Let's talk about what are the signs right now for our listeners. What would be the signs if you are continuously searching outside of yourself for approval, for riches, for everything else that we are searching for? What are the signs that women run into that you can tell they're searching outside themselves? Besides, like you talked about, having the gastric bypass surgery. What are some other signs of women that aren't searching within to build on that power and to create change from within, but they're relying on outside
Yeah. Well,
forces?
I think that people who find themselves being people pleasers,
Mhm.
they're consistently, seeking that validation, trying to make everybody else is happy, and they feel they get to a place of burnout because you can't consistently do that, and still live the life that you want to live. So that's one of the ways that they're always looking for that validation, for the affirmation of I'm okay, or, I want to make people happy so that way they can give me the validation. And then when that doesn't happen, then, you spiral out of, down the mountain instead of going up, you spiral down the mountain. And that's one of the ways. The other ways is when we find ourselves just, being an observer in life, being like a passenger, instead of, I call it, being in the back seat of the car and trying to do the backseat driving and telling the person who's now driving your life, how to go and which direction to go. And of course they're not listening to you, they're doing their own thing. So it is that we have to be willing to do that internal work of self-mastery to get ourselves into the driver's seat and then to be the drivers of our own destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we should just be blunt and
Yeah.
tell people straight up. Our listeners need to hear this. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It literally does not matter. The
Right.
only thing that matters is your own self belief, your own
Right.
desire, and your own faith, period. Napoleon Hill couldn't have written it any more beautiful when he started writing the 13 principles of riches. If you do not have the faith in yourself, if you do not have the desire and you don't have the belief that you can even accomplish it, you won't.
Right.
You
Right.
create exactly what you have around you. And I'm encouraging women just like you are, Sophia. And I know Lorianne, our guest that's going to be speaking next, does the same thing. Get into the driver's seat, be the
Yeah.
driver of your life. Nobody is coming. I say this week after week after week. There is no person on some course that's going to come and rescue you like I thought when I was a child, right? Because of the
Right.
Disney movies, right? I thought I was supposed to get married, have babies, and that's the way my life was going to be. And then when I saw my family fall apart when I was 12, I was like, no. So that is not exactly how it's going to go. I need to figure out what my life is going to look like and how do I
Yeah.
drive, at 12 years old. You're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what your life looks like. That's really young. And you're
Right.
influenced by so many other people at that age. If you
Yes.
want to be influenced by the ones that are driving their own cars,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Be influenced
Yes.
by them,
Yes.
emulate them,
Yes.
make them your best friends, hang out in a circle with them, hang
Right.
out with the ones that have done the work, right, Sophia, that have done
Yeah.
the discovery.
Yes. I mean, definitely. Because when it comes to, our heart's desire longs to live life on our own term. But for some reason or another, it gets caught up. And I think it's a lot of the stories that are told when we're children, where our environment is influencing us. Because I think we're kind of born with that independent spirit and flair and wanting to do things our way. And you get beat down enough time to say, no, that's not how you do it. You do it this way. And so we adapt those ways. And then we find that our voice is dampened. We find that our character, our personality, all of those aspects of ourselves get dampened. And then we develop, what I call not like addiction, but it's like addiction, but we develop these things, coping skills, to
Mhm.
then work around dealing with all of these things that happen to us, and how to self-medication, that's the word I use. So we tend to self-medicate, and that was one of the things that I was doing with myself. When I would be upset, instead of being upset, I would be like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and have a brownie pie, and I'm going to feel all right. So once I learned that that was, my whole work, that's what I was doing with myself, and that, because I would kept going around the mountain, I wasn't going to be successful. I would lose weight for a period of time, but then gain it back, and then some by the end of the year, and have to repeat the process again. So I was ready to be done with it. I wanted to get clear and figure that path out. And that's what I did. And that's why I share that with women. When I figured that out, I was like, oh my goodness, like this has been the secret that has occurred in life, that we need to work on ourselves. We need to master ourselves. So that's why I teach the art of self-mastery.
Yeah, self-mastery is so important.
Yeah.
So many women come to me and their main goal is to gain more revenue in their businesses. But what they don't realize is I could focus all day long on their business, but if we never focus on them, it's
Yeah.
never going to be permanent,
Yes. Yes.
because you have to master you before you can master your own success.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And we model the way that our parents raised us. So our beliefs about money, our beliefs about other people, our beliefs in general are modeled from when we were a child. And you have to
Yes.
break those stories and create your own current realities, which is very difficult for people to do, because it's the big C word, which is change. And
Yes.
no one likes change because it's uncomfortable. But you realize, Sophia, that 100 pounds had nothing to do with weight. It had
Yes.
everything to do with your your relationship with
Yes.
weight and
Yes.
yourself. It
Yes.
had nothing to do with the weight.
Yes,
You
that
can,
was a
yeah,
symptom, and that's why it
yeah.
didn't work all the times that I was, going through the motion and doing things, because I was treating a symptom instead of treating the real cause. And the
Mm,
real cause was my belief system, the values I held for myself, and of how they were tied into my relationship
yeah.
with food and all of those things. So that's what I needed to do that work on, and then was able to, transform and change.
Yeah. So I would ask each one of our listeners out there today, you're thinking to yourself, oh, yeah, I got some things I need to work on. You already are identifying them. Don't act like you're not. They're already identifying what those are. So this is a good time, Sophia, to talk about, how can the ladies listening that are identifying some things that they're going through that they need some assistance on. And I guess we should bring up this strong point. When she talks about going over the mountain, it's very difficult when you've never climbed a mountain before.
Yes.
To do it alone is almost impossible. I have 2 or 3 different coaches that I work with. It just depends on, some of them are mentors, some of them are coaches in different areas of my life, because I am not looking to recreate the wheel or try to do something on my own. I need the support. There's a reason why there's support systems for anyone who's going through sobriety or had an addiction, or the community like we built for Lead Up for women that are really trying to get out there in the spotlight, but are very scared and nervous to do it for the first time. You must have a community. You must have someone next to you that can hold you accountable, that can guide you, that can be there in the tough times and help you celebrate the good times, because we forget to celebrate the good times too, don't we?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We tend to focus on the negative or what's gone wrong and all of those things, instead of really look at the very, the smallest of things and celebrate. If you made one step today and you didn't do something that you said you weren't going to do, then that's something to celebrate. But we often, downplay that and say, well, I did 9 things right, but that number 10 was the one thing that I didn't do. And so then now you focus on that number 10.
Yeah, it's amazing how horrible we talk to ourselves. I did an exercise once at one of the retreats, and I had everyone write down everything that what they would say to themselves, what they don't like about themselves. And then I got up and had all of them pair up. I said, now I want you to tell that other person you are, and just list everything that you have on your list. And they just started crying. They
Yep.
didn't want to tell the other person they were fat. They didn't want to tell the other person they were stupid. It's like, well,
Right.
you tell yourself that all day long. That's
Right.
awful. So, it was a very strong, exercise to realize how if it makes you cry to have to say that to someone else, can you imagine with the damage that you're doing to yourself? And it seems like we're talking about a lot of damage that we do to ourselves today, because when we talk to Lorianne, we're going to get into that next. But Sophia, if you could tell us, you have a free offer for our listeners. So let's start with
Yes.
that. And then how our listeners can get in contact with you.
So my free offer is Sophia Speaks Wisdom Life Assessment Plan. So that way you can start assessing your life and locate where you are, because it's so important when you locate where you are now and then where you want, and then you'll start thinking where you want to be, and then being able to close that gap. Is one of the things that I talk about, is being able to close that gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And so it's going to help you, find your visions, relocate your voice, and be able to start stepping up and really, living life on your own terms and being in the driver's seat of your own life. So that's what happens with my life assessment. And you can go to sophiaspeakswisdom.com, which is my website, and you can get information. You can contact me from there, as well as, you can email me at sophia@sophiaspeakswisdom.com.
Well, thank you, Sophia, for all the wisdom that you shared with our listeners today, and for being here. Like I said, and I'm sure the listeners agree now, I told them you were a beautiful light, so much enthusiasm. You're bringing so much to the world, and you are truly teaching other women how to light their lamps and keep them lit for themselves, not steal the lamps from other women. We tend to judge and have competition, and that's not excited it's not exciting for anyone. It's not accepted here. And as women, we need to band together as sisters and support each other and lift each other. And you've created a great community for that, Sophia. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I think when we have that self-love, then there is no need. We don't see the need for competition. We don't see the need to, downplay somebody else in order to lift ourselves up. But we just see where we're all a part of the same team. We're all one. And then we're able to, share light and give light and help to light the way for each other.
I love that, Sophia. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners. All right, Lorianne, let's go ahead and talk about you. So I love Lorianne. She has a little quote here that she says, "I am perhaps the only person who is a bulimia recovery coach using graphotherapy and angles of self-branding in my process." You're probably right, Lorianne. You probably are the only one. So Lorianne's had quite a life. She's traveled and lived in many places. She was born in Montreal, Quebec. Her family moved to Istanbul, Turkey, when she was 7, where they lived there for 4 years, during which time they were the first civilian family to walk from Asia to Europe on the first Bosphorus Bridge. Did I say that right? That's pretty awesome. So I know you have some books that you've written. So you have authored and contributed to the #1 bestseller, and you received the Publishers Award for Makeup Not Required, How to Brand the True You. Love that book. Her latest book is How to Have Your Cake and Not Eat It All Too. That's amazing. A Guide to Adult Bulimia Recovery. You're the host of the Bleep Bulimia podcast, targeting women in midlife still struggling with bulimia, and co-host of Lift Your Story podcast with Roy Miller. And I know that I have enjoyed your podcasts, and I'm so happy to have you as a guest today, Lorianne. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And you were our 100th guest on our show. So.
That's right. Wasn't that so crazy? It was really interesting. I went back and then started tracking my episodes, and now I use my episodes every week, because I was like, why am I not tracking my episodes? If I was her 100th a guest, I should be tracking my episodes. So thanks for that, Lorianne.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about your struggles with bulimia. It fits right in with what we're talking about today, and why so many of us need the support and the coaching in our lives, because we're struggling with so much outside of ourselves. in that search. So what were you searching for, Lori Ann, back in those days?
It was interesting. I mean, I never even thought of a diet or anything until I was 16. And my sister was getting married, and they had those stupid charts that used to tell you how much you should weigh. And she told me I was 10 pounds overweight. And then she put me on a liquid diet, and my whole life just turned around at that point. I started seeing things I hadn't seen in my physical self, and looking for other people, seeing that they look better. And it became a mindset. By the age of 17, I couldn't control my weight. In fact, I went from being a totally normal, an active teenager to gaining weight because these diets ended up doing that. So because you're restricting yourself, right? So, and then from there, because of that failure, I ended up turning to bulimia, and for 30 years, I struggled with it. And they say that it's about people pleasing, because a lot of people are like that, controlling something. I don't have all the answers, because everybody, I think, is different in as far as why they would end up holding on to it. But I do know that bulimia, as much as it was like, yay, I'm losing weight with this, after a while, it became so difficult. I wanted so badly to stop, and yet it started controlling me, which is, it was a turnaround, right? So much like addictions.
Yeah.
And then it became a go-to. So I guess I didn't, in a sense, bulimia was sort of hiding the fact that I didn't want to show people that, food was my go-to. So it concealed that, and it's a big lie. Everything is a lie, becomes a lie. And then, of course, if your values are going against that, because I don't like lying, then you're not feeling good about yourself, which further pushes you down. But yes, it became a go-to for stress, for depression, and then a circle, because depression comes from lack of nutrients, which then perpetuates the bulimia. And so
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I believe there's probably several women out there that are living with this today, and I think they're categorizing it as something different. Maybe not admitting that they have it, or saying I don't have an issue with food. So do you mind talking a little bit about, I feel like it's a disease. Do you want to talk a little bit more about bulimia, and how someone can identify with that?
yeah, and unfortunately, like, why I'm saying that a lot of the women I'm dealing with are in their 40s or over is because there seems to be, some of them have struggled like I did since a teenager, when there was nothing too. There was no information really about bulimia in specific. There was more about anorexia. But there's a shift in the image again. Okay, so when you're in your puberty, there's that one, and then you go into the 40s, it's almost like a backwards one, right?
Oh yeah, I'm there. I actually think it's like more late 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And I think we hit it again in our 60s, but you're right. Like there's a big shift that happens when you're in your late 40s and 50s in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for some of them, I mean, I have some people I've spoken to, they don't want to give it up. And yet they do, because, and so it's a struggle. So they know they know that it's not healthy. They know that it can ruin their teeth. It can ruin so much about, health wise. And the older you get, hate to say it, but, the more severe it can be on your body.
Yeah.
Not that it isn't always, but it gets worse. So, but they're fearful. I mean, if you look at social media, even out there, I mean, there's so much emphasis on even aging, like how many, creams do you have? And I'm not saying, I mean, if women want to do that, they want to, get their facelifts or the Botox, that's their choice. But there's so much emphasis on that. And then I think there's a myth, as far as I'm concerned, that once you go over 40, you'll start gaining weight. That's not necessarily true. I haven't found it to be a problem. I've been recovered for 10 years, and that was at 48. And in fact, I now am at my steady weight where I should be, because your body does have a steady weight where it wants you to stay. Switching out of that, though, it's like I call it like the Linus blanket. right? It's a security thing for them, and
Mhm.
it's really hard for them to break free of it.
Yeah.
Uh, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, if you're going to be eating, overeating, and purging, you have bulimia.
okay. Yeah, that makes very much sense. Coming from physical activity, I was a personal trainer. I'm a first degree black belt. So physical activity has been a huge part of my life. And what I noticed was when the pandemic hit, that was when my biggest shift happened because instead of what a lot of people did was go on vacation or start cleaning out their house or whatever they did, I just started working even more. And I was working longer hours, sitting at my desk more. Now I wasn't traveling on planes. I wasn't going speaking anywhere. So I was literally locked down sitting all day long. And my body has felt those effects. And it's very simple. That's why bulimia, I'm sure, exists. It's calories in, calories out, except the calories out shouldn't be coming out through purging. The calories out should be exerting energy through physical movement and walking or jogging or working out or whatever it may be, if you like to play sports or tennis or pickleball, right? So it just comes down to that common formula, which is calories in, calories out. And that's the easiest way, right? I guess I would imagine for someone to get the calories out than to do the physical activity. But what your body is missing is the increased oxygen levels to your blood from working out, the endorphins that are produced, the muscle, gets the additional oxygen coming from the blood, the stretching of the muscles. There's so much that is missed. And truly, that's what our bodies need is just that physical movement to stay healthy and stretch and those types of things. So, in working with women, what are you finding, Lori Ann, for first of all, I guess I just need to say this. Ladies, you freaking look beautiful just the way you are. Like, I'm so tired of you worried about what this crazy culture's created on social media where you think you're living this perfect life. I remember my kids growing up in cheer, right? I had girls that did cheerleading, and one of the girls they cheered with, they just thought she had the perfect life of how she advertised it. Before we know it, she's divorced. I was like, wow, guess it's not such the perfect life because she wouldn't have gotten divorced if it was. And the two of you are still married very happily. So who has the perfect life now? So it's just amazing to me how much we see on the surface and want. But you're right. I don't even know who has had a facelift, who has had Botox. I don't know who is gracefully aging on their own. We don't know that, do we, Lorianne? Because there's so much out there available now to women. And if that makes you feel better, fine. If using a certain cream or getting Botox or whatever makes you feel better. But remember that the aging process that happens is something that should be celebrated because if you have wrinkles for over 50 years, you've lived 50 years. You have experiences and wisdom of 50 years. There's no need to mask that, right? Or take that away. So, what are you finding with the women that you're working with? What are their when they overcome bulimia? What are they? What is their life like? What is their transformation? There's got to be a huge transformation that happens in there, Lorianne.
It is huge. In regards to that, there's like the not having to lie anymore. And believe it or not, even just, social events were so difficult for a lot of them, including me. And now you can go out and you can have a meal, enjoy it, be able to talk without that anxiety. It removes that. I won't say that there aren't anxieties in other areas of your life that come up, but they all do. But in that particular case, health wise, feel a lot healthier and more acceptance to themselves. I think that that's a big thing is self-love. And you know and sorry, I just have to say this really quickly. I did have a guest on one of our shows, and he was a facial profiler, and he said he finds women are incredibly attractive with the have lines on the side of their eyes because it shows how happy they are
Mm-hmm.
and how happy they've been in life. So I just wanted to throw that
Yeah,
out.
I'm glad you said that because one of my daughters said right here, because my smile, Like I have these lines that go right here, right? And then of course I have dimples too, which have been there since birth, but I have these lines right here. She's like, you should get a filler right here. And I said to her, why would I get a filler? Where these are my, like when I smile, this is the line that means I'm smiling all the time. Why would I want to fill that? Well, because that's like a ring. I'm like, okay, they're like 20 some years old. I can't even deal with what's happening with the younger ages these days. And I said, no, I don't want to get any fillers on my face. I don't, that's not a thing for me. That's not of interest, but it's amazing to me what you just said on, I love that he mentioned that because so many, if I wish that every person could see when someone else looks at them, what is coming out of their, what they're thinking about them. Because we look at women and we're like, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous. You have so much to offer, your personality. Yet, like I said, the way we think about ourselves is so dangerous and detrimental to our health, so much so that women would be willing to sacrifice their health
Mhm.
physically by throwing up because they're afraid to gain weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Afraid to gain weight and afraid to show the world that, if they gain weight, because part of it is out there because of how people expect you to be, but also it's also hiding,
Yeah.
your issues, really. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, there's a feeling just so much better about yourself, and can't even explain it. It's freedom, really, ultimately, is what it is when they recover. It's a let go, and yeah, I mean, freedom is the best, and peace. There's a lot more peace that comes with it. And the other thing too, I just wanted to say too, when you're bulimic, and I think eating disorders in general, there is this point where your body and your mind just lose each other, right? So there is a saturation point. Your body knows when you've eaten enough, knows when you're full. If you eat too fast, you're not going to know that. So, eating slowly. And so learning to do that, then there's no fear of food. You can eat pretty well anything you want because your body's going to tell you when to stop automatically. So some of them call it intuitive eating. And that was a huge part of my recovery and something that I really promote with my clients as well.
Yeah. I'm sure
But
that
yeah,
starts with trusting
yes,
yourself, right?
yes, totally.
Yeah. A big trust piece. Yeah, I agree. Well, Lori-Ann, the information you shared today is awesome. So please tell us what you have for our listeners today, how they can reach you. Obviously, we have some links on how they can purchase your books, but please tell us those. And of course, we'll have all the links readily available for all of you that you can click on these. But if you want to reach out to Lori-Ann or know someone who should reach out to Lori-Ann and need to get in contact with her and you want to share her information, Lori-Ann, please share that.
Perfect. So for any listeners that if they want, I will give them a free PDF of my How to Have Your Cake and Not Eat It All Too. All you have to do is email me, and it's Lori-Ann, that's Laurieann. We'll have the links at iamthatgal.com. So I will provide you with that. Absolutely. You can go to the site, iamthatgal.com, where most everything that I do is listed. And then, of course, bleepbulimia.com is where you can access a blog and also the information about the podcast. So if you need to listen to something, it's really worthwhile listening to if you need support as well on that front.
Yeah, support is a huge factor, Lori-Ann. So thanks for sharing that. Again, iamthatgal.com. And then for Sophia, it's sophiaspeakswisdom.com. And all those links are there for you to reach out to our guest today. And I love free stuff. So when our guests give away free stuff, I always tell my listeners, take advantage of it. So everyone says there's nothing available for free. Oh, there's a lot of stuff available for free in the community I'm in because we're always wanting to help each other. And giving away free stuff is one of the ways that we can do that. So you can all partake in really just being a better version of yourself. That's what it comes down to. And I want to remind everybody today that the handle is on the inside. Each one of you have put yourself in a cage somehow, some way. Every single person listening to this today has created this armor and this shield around yourself to protect you from something. And the handle is on the inside. All you have to do is turn it and come out. And I would definitely partner up with one of the coaches that you've heard talk today, whether it be Lori Ann or whether it be Sophia, because you need someone by your side to assist you and guide you through this process. This is not easy for transformation, but it's necessary if you want to truly live that harmonious life that Sophia talked about. So, ladies, remember, you're the only you that's ever been. You are the only you that will ever be, ever. So, how you pioneer your future is really up to you. This is your time, this is your life. And we are all encouraging you and supporting you to live it the best that you possibly can. So, thank you everyone for being with us today, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye now.